We are live!
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
What's up, guys, and hello from our beach campground.
Yes, sir.
We were supposed to be in the mountains, but we're not. We're on a bunch of dirt bikes at a beach campground site.
Living in luxury.
Why aren't we in the mountains? Because it's closed.
It's closed.
Yeah, that was fun. So today we're gonna talk about the 5 things we wish we had 5 years ago, or 5 things we wish we had on our bikes that we now have. So basically our 5 favorite things, or 5 upgrades. I don't know, I'm just calling it the 5. So the rules to this are 5 things that you have now that you're like, dang, I wish I had this when I first got into motorcycling. And this is a motorcycle slash adventure bike edition.
Yep.
So, because you have a lot of bikes.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Like, you've owned, since I've known you, I think 5 motorcycles?
Probably, yeah.
Since I've known you?
Yeah.
Harleys to, now you have, what is that, BMW?
The S1000RR.
The double R S1000, yeah. Wow, yeah, that thing's...
Full super bike.
Yeah.
Cross rocket.
And then you have an amazing...
Someone called it a sausage rocket because it's German.
Really? Wow, that's staying in there. We got the Wubba. So this is just motorcycles in general, because you've had all the bikes.
Yep.
For me, I've had Harleys and I've had an adventure bike. So that's kind of it. I've ridden some of the cool super bikes, but I've never owned one.
Yeah.
Or even come close to owning one. Maybe someday though.
Someday.
We'll see. So I'm gonna start off with you.
Yep.
What is one of your 5? And we'll just go back and forth.
You know, so when I first got into adventure bike riding, like you get these adventure bikes and you're like, I want to take this thing off-road.
Yeah.
So you go off-road. And so we have this local trail in Southern California called Santiago Peak. And so I was like, you know, I have this adventure bike, I'm ready to go. The only problem is that nobody tells you is they don't come with adventure tires from the factory. So you have street tires, they have a little bit of tread on there, but I'm like, whatever. Everybody tells me this bike can go off-road, so we're gonna go off-road. So I did Santiago Peak with street tires on this bike. So I would say the first thing that I wish I had 5 years ago was true knobby off-road tires on the bike, and just what a crazy difference it makes. So now we have Motaz Tractionator GPS tires, and I've had a bunch of different tires that are more aggressive, less aggressive. These are more of like a 50-50 tire that are not obnoxious for on the road. So for those of you guys that have had like knobby tires on a truck, some of them get a little bit aggressive when you're just going down the highway.
Yeah.
But they're really, really good off-road, and vice versa. So I feel like these tires are kind of the happy medium between on-road miles as well as can rip some off-road trails.
Yeah, I like them, and they look cool.
Yeah.
Which is half the battle.
Yeah.
I have the full moto. I have the Continental TKC 80s, but honestly, I love them. But it's and everybody talks about it, including Continental. They're like, yeah, this tire doesn't last a very long time. So if you're doing like if I was going to Alaska and back, I don't know if I'd run a TKC 80, or I would just buy a set of them just for that trip.
Sure.
Planning on totally getting rid of that tire, especially if you're in the dirt a lot. The tire goes away, but because it's a stickier rubber, I get a lot of really good performance on road with
Absolutely.
them. At least for my capabilities. But riding up the mountain, going up to Arrowhead, I haven't had any little sketchy moments or anything like that. But
well, I think that's like the trade-off is the Motaz. It's a very hard compound, so it's going to last longer, but you're going to lose some of that performance off-road. So like I have to make sure if we're going off-road, like I almost have to air down.
Yeah, it's more of a must, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of mine is actual protection.
Oh.
And these
it's show
are...
and tell. I didn't bring anything.
These are the Dainese gloves with... This is an important part for me right here, this little piece of plastic. And then also I'm always wearing a jacket with armor now. Where before, if it was hot out or something like that, I never did that. And I bought this mesh jacket, and I don't even know who makes this thing. Noru. It was cheap. I liked the armor in it was good, especially in the elbows and shoulders.
It looks good.
But the back was not, and I replaced the back with the Dainese back pad.
Nice.
So I'm always wearing armor now, both on my hands and on my upper body. And you know, we've had friends recently. We
Yep.
had a friend get in an accident
Yep.
while we're going 15 miles an hour on PCH, and he was fine, but he got kind of dinged up
Yeah, for
and
sure.
had little rubs here and little rubs here, and it was like, man, why not wear a jacket, especially a mesh jacket
Sure.
that you can wear during the summertime? And that is something that I never ever wore. I was like, maybe leather gloves, but most of the time when I was riding Harleys, I just was no gloves
Yeah.
and a t-shirt, you know, and jeans. So having actual protection, and also, you know, the boots, but having actual protection makes me feel a lot more warm and fuzzy, especially I'm a dad now.
Well,
so.
and the more confidence you have on the bike, the better you're going to ride.
Yeah.
Like if you're not confident, that's like the worst situation on a motorcycle.
Yeah, feeling like now if I don't have my jacket on, I feel exposed.
Interesting.
It's like, and you ride more tense, which isn't a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But like now I've kind of grown to really like the jacket. There were some summer days, you know, coming back from Riverside, they were like, oh, this is horrible. I need to take this thing. Like it definitely was not enjoyable. But the peace of mind is there. And
Sure.
I do like having protection.
That's good.
All right. And for your second,
Yeah.
what's your second?
So I think my second is in the category of motorcycle luggage, but I'm going to go a step further and say purpose-built motorcycle luggage. So there's a lot of people that just, you know, get the factory luggage, and there's nothing wrong necessarily with factory luggage if you have it and it meets your purpose. But what I realized from my bike was that we were going to be doing a lot more off-road stuff than on-road, and so I didn't want a lot of hard luggage that, frankly, if I drop my bike, which inevitably is going to happen if you're off-road, was just going to get
Which
dinged
just
up.
happened to you.
It just happened to me.
Yeah.
So I went with soft luggage options where if you go down, if you tip your bike over, especially at slow speeds, it's not going to completely wreck your life and you have to replace $2,000 panniers. Now, our friend Luke here is the exception because he has hard panniers, but he's gone ahead and rhino lined the entire thing.
Yeah, rhino lined them. And I don't know if that helps. I had some moments on my birthday trip where I was going down some Jeep trails where I ended up in a couple ruts because that was the route.
Yeah.
It was like, I can't go there and I can't go there. I guess I'm going down this rut where, trust me, bro, it was like, this is why Josh likes the soft bags. Like I had that in my head and I was like, if he was here right now, he'd be teasing me. Yeah, so, and it just was what it was, but
Yeah.
it's your Lone Rider bags speak to me big time, especially
sure.
because they're lockable, which is more everyday use for me.
Yeah. What I will say though is if you're primarily going to be doing highway miles and on-road, the ease of use from the hard panniers is unparalleled. Like it's so much easier to just pop it open real quick, throw some stuff in, and you're done. So it just depends on what kind of things you're looking to do from your motorcycle. And I would say like that's a good tip of advice as you're going into riding motorcycles, customizing things, like really get something that works for you. Don't get it just because everybody else has it, or you know it's the cool thing to put on your bike. Now hopefully,
Or it's what the dealership's selling.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's like, and they make it easy too, because you can like finance
and, yeah.
it. You're like, oh, I don't even have to pay cash for
Yeah,
this.
please don't pay interest on bags. That's
It's like it's not even there. Like you just buy it.
yeah, that for me was a game changer.
It's something too. You could get, like, you could have both.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was thinking about. Like, well, if I got these bags, when I'm going on, especially with the Jeep guys,
Sure.
when I'm going on one of those trips with them, I just throw the soft bags on.
Yeah.
You know, like pull the panniers off, throw the soft bags on, would probably take me a grand total of 1 minute.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, if that, because I love the way those things mount. But
Well, when
they
I'm
do
like,
look cooler than the panniers. Maybe
Yeah.
not than my panniers.
no, your
but
panniers.
most
are special.
panniers, they look extremely cool.
So like when I'm on the highway, honestly, I don't have side panniers. I just do some sort of top case, whether it's a soft bag or a hard case. And I feel like for me, it's easier to split lanes. I'm not as worried about how wide my bike is.
Yeah.
So only when I'm camping or doing like high mileage situations will I actually put those extra bags on the side.
So for your everyday ride, and you're taking them off.
Yep.
I've had a lot of friends. Yeah, I haven't, but it's maybe out of laziness, or usually when I'm going somewhere it was for work and I needed to carry that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like where it used to work.
Yep.
I'd put whole kit like in one bag and then other accoutrements in another bag, And then the Pelican case is the Pelican case for a reason.
Yep.
But yeah, that's beside the point. Okay, my number 2 is this right here, the Cardo.
Ooh, that's
A
a good
Cardo
one.
system.
That's a good
But
one.
more specifically, the Cardo Black. I've never had a comm system, so I don't really know how to compare them to. So I'm going to shoot this back to you. But
Yeah.
I called you and was like, hey man, I want to get one of these Ninja things so I can listen to music on my helmet. And you were like, get the Cardo Black. I'm like, yeah, but what about this one? And you were like, shut up, get the Cardo Black.
Not a sponsor, for the record.
And I did. Yeah, no, I don't. You guys know I don't make money on this. But I will try to have some stuff in the YouTube store if I can find it.
Yeah.
Not YouTube, Instagram store. All proceeds go to Samaritan's Purse, SamaritansPurse.com. Anyway, this is just being able to answer the phone,
Yeah.
being able to send a text.
Yep.
It's basically just like plugging my phone into my truck
Yep.
and having Apple CarPlay, but in the helmet.
Well, and I feel like the audio quality of the JBL speakers, specifically on the Cardo,
Yeah.
are so much better. And I know like Cena and stuff, they're going a long way and they're making a lot of good improvements on like the competitor systems. I would say I've owned a few different competitors of the Cardo system, and this one is so far ahead of the game, at least right now, that, you know, you can go faster than you should be on a motorcycle and still feel or still hear your music completely perfect.
Yeah, it's not been a problem. And this is kind of a loud helmet.
Interesting.
It's not super quiet because this does this. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the music just it kills it out. And
you've called me from this helmet while you're on the motorcycle, and I can't really tell that you're on a motorcycle. I
yeah,
think that's-
so my father is a savage of a motorcycle rider. He's ridden literally all over the country and in some ways cases the world, because he's been to South America and stuff like that. But I called him from it one time and he was like, how's the bike? And I'm like, it's great, I'm on it right now. And he was like, what? And he called his friends who he was with, his riding buddies. He's like, hold on, puts me on speakerphone. He's like, just say something. I'm like, you know, halloo, hallay. And I'm like, I start singing to him. And my dad's like, you're on your motorcycle right now. I was like, I'm doing 75 miles an hour on the freeway right now. And he couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Like it blew him away. Like he had no idea, which is just, it's amazing, the microphone tech.
Yep.
So these things, guys, you just mount it. You have it mounted inside your helmet. You can see it. Nothing's really getting in the way. And then you just have this little guy here and you just pull this off and charge this piece right here.
So I'm going
That's
to
it.
add one thing to your Cardo system that I have got specifically for Cardo that I absolutely love. So they make what's called a second helmet kit. So I have different helmets for different purposes. As you pointed out, I have a few bikes in my garage right now.
Yeah. you
So I have an adventure helmet, I have a cruiser helmet, I have a sport helmet. And so what you realize is you're like, man, do I have to buy a Cardo system for every single one of my helmets? So Cardo thought through it, and they basically sell the dock and the speakers. I think it's $100.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
So all you have to do is swap this unit between all of your helmets, and you have the same capability in all of your different kinds of helmets, which for me has been a game changer also.
That's rad. I'm thinking about a second helmet.
Yeah.
I just don't know what I want to get, honestly. Like, it's like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that's cool too. The one thing I want is, I really like having a visor, but this visor
Is
I dislike. But
Have you
that's a
been
whole
to the
nother-
new-
That's a whole nother video.
have you been to the Revzilla store in Newport?
No, I haven't.
Dude, they
I
have
didn't know there was one.
hundreds of helmets on their wall.
Oh, jeez.
Like, it's really, really cool.
Jeez Louise. Okay, what is your third?
All right, number 3 I think is something we're going to agree on.
Okay.
It is auxiliary lights. So
Oh, you stole mine. You stole one of mine.
and he
So-
told me before the video.
So your number 3 and my number 3 are the same.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Auxiliary, like, actually, it wouldn't be my number 3. It'd be my number 1.
For sure.
It'd be my. These aren't really in order. I should say that, but it's anyway. Continue, please.
Yeah, so especially in the adventure world, not so much in like cruisers or stuff, you see these guys riding down the highway, and you know it when you've seen it. You see the big amber lights or the yellow lights. You're like, man, why are those things so bright? Well, I'll say, as annoying as they are to look at from oncoming traffic, from a safety standpoint, these things are insane how well they work. So in California here, it's legal to split lanes, lane filtering. I think Arizona actually passed a law where it's going to be legal here in the next couple days there. But
Oh, wow.
one of the things that we do regularly in California, especially when we're stuck in traffic, is we'll split lanes. Now, splitting lanes is inherently more dangerous than just staying in your lane sometimes. But one of the things that these lights are good for is you can see motorcycles coming. So you can't always hear bikes, even bikes that have the crazy loud exhaust and things. Honestly, I'm a guy that obviously rides motorcycles. Sometimes when I'm in my car, I don't hear bikes until they're right up on me.
Shh!
Yeah,
Quiet!
we're filming a video here.
It's YouTube, sir.
Trying to make millions of dollars.
Yeah, right. I love you 40 subscribers. You guys are awesome. Anyway, continue.
Quickly growing to 1,000.
Yes, exactly.
So these lights, from a safety standpoint, people can see you coming more than they can hear you coming on a motorcycle. And then, of course, you know, on the off-road side of things, they are huge.
Yeah, lights in general. When I put lights on my truck for the first time, the very first trip I took was elk hunting in Utah, and I know for a fact it saved my life.
You were elk hunting on a motorcycle?
No, on my truck.
Oh.
Just having additional lighting on the truck. I caught this huge mule deer out of the corner of my eye and just full squealing stop, and he passed about 20 feet in front of me.
Wow.
And in my head I was like, yeah, that would have been a wrecked car, or even worse.
You want to pause till he passes?
Pause until this guy passes. And we're back after the tractor went by and then came back again and then came back again. And anyway, so I know that's where it became really important to me. And then my light story on the bike. So I was splitting lanes and I see just like a spaceship coming behind me. And it was a motor cop. I don't know if he was CHP or what he was exactly, but he splits lanes and I kind of get over and let him pass. I'm just like, whoa, and he's just got lights everywhere. I was like, wow, okay, well, he got off at my exit. So I hop off at the exit and he pulls in to this gas station. I'm like, I'm gonna go say what's up to this dude. So I went up there and I started talking to him, and I was like, okay, so what's the laws? And I'm not gonna tell you guys what they are. You should look those up, because I am not a lawyer. I just hang out with one at home. But he basically kind of told me what the laws were on lights, and I was like, so you're saying? And he was like, yeah, dude, and leave them on all the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I had the wild idea to take the Flex Aero 4s off my truck.
It's nuts.
And put them on this motorcycle.
It really is nuts to be in front of you and see those lights in my rearview mirror.
Yeah, last night I was like, what's Josh doing back there?
Yeah,
oh,
it's
okay.
not even worth trying to get in front of you. They're so obnoxiously bright.
Yeah, and they, you know, and then our friend Walter, I was kind of going back and forth from white to amber, and he was like, during the daytime, the amber, and also at night with amber, I feel like I'm not making as many people angry.
Sure.
And the way I pointed the lights, they're pointed to basically where my low beam would be, and I still feel like it's so much light.
For sure.
And riding up in the mountains, animals flying out, like, that's not a dented car, that's death.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
you get hit by a deer up there.
Yeah.
So I really like having the extra light. Yeah, same with you, splitting lanes. People just see you.
Yep.
It like parts the waters, you know.
Yep.
And it's not only a safety issue, but it's really cool.
For sure.
Like, so,
Yep.
you know, like you get that cool status. But
Yep.
luckily, you know, our friend Wired by Greg, he figured out how to wire it up. And the lights that came on the BMW,
They're a little wimpy.
they're useless. Like, what is that even? Like, how did you think that was okay?
Yeah.
You know, and at least on my bike, I think it'd be a little different for yours.
Sure.
Because you've got a lot more computer and stuff going on than I have. I don't necessarily know, but what are your aftermarket lights?
So I went with the Clearwater Ericas.
So you have the Clearwater. I know Baja Designs makes some stuff for motorcycles.
Yep.
Casey does not.
Denali's another popular brand for the BMW.
Oh, Denali's, okay. And I know from the off-road world, Rigid.
Yeah.
Rigid makes this this GPS light now.
Wow.
And I'm like, I think I'm gonna buy a pair. Like, it has a GPS unit in it where as you go faster, it gets narrower.
Wow.
And as you slow down, it gets wider.
Wow.
So my neighbor up in Arrowhead has them. Maybe I'll throw in some B-roll right here of it. But that's something I could see myself rocking on this, and then put these back on my truck, because I miss them on my truck. Like, they're not there now. I'm like, man, I need those on here too. But lights, guys.
Yeah.
Lights, lights, lights.
Can
And
never-
what about street bikes? Like, have you seen guys rocking like auxiliary lights on street bikes?
Not on street bikes specifically, like guys on like RT 1250s and stuff. Obviously, like the police officer you saw, I'm guessing he was on an RT 1250.
Yeah.
I've seen auxiliary lights on those. I'm starting to see more auxiliary lights like we're talking about on baggers and cruiser motorcycles.
Yeah, big time. And they look dope.
They do. They
Like,
look pretty cool.
That guy we saw last night, like he
Yep.
came through all lit up, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, he's like a Christmas tree.
I think I've seen Baja Designs. People are like replacing even their fairing headlights with Baja Designs in there.
Yeah.
It looks pretty tough. And I would say that, you know, it's cool to be able to do it, but also two, I feel like it's something that dealerships and motorcycle companies should take note of, that like,
100%.
hey, we shouldn't be having to add aftermarket headlights. And can we just say in 2022, no motorcycle should come with halogen headlights at all?
At period.
It's so ridiculous that there are motorcycles that still have halogens.
Yeah. All right, so number 4. I guess I'll start
Go
because
for it.
we had the same one. Medical on the motorcycle. That is something that I'm so glad I've had because I've used it twice now.
Wow.
Once with you, with
Yeah.
our friend who fell.
Yeah.
I was able to kind of patch him up and get him cleaned up and
Yeah.
back on the road. And then another time I came across a really bad motorcycle accident on the 55 freeway driving to work. And a guy crashed, and it was so scary, man. I just saw this Harley ghost biking
Ooh.
and just brake lights everywhere. And I look, and the guy's on the side, just folded over, and his leg was obviously broken. I couldn't tell if there was any bleeding or anything like that because he had on
Sure.
like leather pants.
Yeah.
But I was able to grab that tourniquet from the side of my bike. It's in an area I know where it's at. I can get to it right away. Open that thing up, and I have 2 tourniquets right on top. I grabbed one tourniquet, ran out to him, was able to apply that tourniquet, and then I marked down the time I'd put the tourniquet on. Luckily, a guy that had just gotten off work, who was a paramedic and fireman, he comes right in. He's like, "Hey, I'm a fireman." I'm like, "Cool. I know enough to know you know way more than me." And I was like, "Cool." And I just basically stayed at the guy's head, was talking to him, and you know, then that paramedic took over. But I asked the guy, you know, I was like, "Do you have anything with you?" He's like, "No. Do you have another tourniquet? Let's put 2 on there."
Wow.
He just wanted 2 on that leg because he was really the leg was bad. It was like folded over. Like, that's not good.
Sure.
So I went and grabbed my second tourniquet, and he put that on, and then he took down the time for that. Ambulances were there within minutes, luckily, but that's twice
Yeah.
that I've used it. So
That's good.
people think it's, you know, our friend was like always teasing me for having like, "Oh,
Yeah.
why do you always have a little med kit on you?" And then I used it right in front of him. He was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah, cool." It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you tease this stuff, but it's important to have. So, and in my truck, I can't tell you how many times I've used it in the car.
Yeah.
From little scrapes to cuts, gashes, things like that. Not so much a tourniquet have I ever
Sure.
used from my truck, but I use my med kit all the time.
Yep.
All the time. So,
I have, along that same vein of emergencies, you know, one of the things that I think I wish I had 5 years ago that now I literally don't leave home without is an emergency kit for the motorcycle on my
Yeah.
bike. So I have, same as you, a dedicated pouch that stays on my bike. It never moves. And it's basically, if anything mechanical goes wrong on any motorcycle, I know everything is self-contained in that bag. So I have tire puncture kits, I have compressed air, I have rope, I have zip ties, I have knives, I have putty, I have just some basic tools. And basically, I mean, a lot of, especially what we're doing, we can get into some pretty remote areas pretty quick.
yeah.
And if you don't know how, like, there's no calling AAA in a lot of situations that we're in.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to be a little bit of self-sustaining here and be able to work on your bike, at least to get it to a point where you can ride it to a shop and get more help or something like that. Because I'm far from a master mechanic on my motorcycle, but hopefully I know enough to be able to just get it down the road and get it to somebody who knows a little bit more than me.
Yeah. The spare stuff is such a must. And then learning how to use it, you
Sure.
know. I learned only recently that repairing a motorcycle tire puncture is a lot different than a truck tire puncture.
Yeah.
But also not that far off.
Yeah.
But it was something I never carried on my bike. When we go on big adventure rides, we'll put an extra rear tire on the back.
Yeah.
And that's usually to change halfway through if you can't find tires.
Yeah.
But yeah, the med kit for me was a big add-on and something I never thought about carrying on the bike, and I'm really glad I have it now.
Nice.
What's your number 4?
Well, I think it was that. It's literally that emergency kit for the motorcycle. And just something that, and that's honestly, so on the adventure bike that I have, it's really easy because I have a bag that it sits there on. For the other motorcycles where I don't have as much storage options, honestly, it's something that's always in the back of my mind of like, what happens if I'm on the super bike and, you know, something goes wrong, or what happens if I'm on my cruiser motorcycle. It's like,
so my number 1 thing is not just something for motorcycles, but in life in general, but I really realized how important it could be on a motorcycle, and that is my Garmin InReach Mini. That thing is always attached to me.
wow.
So on my leather jacket, I keep it up on my collarbone.
Yeah.
If not, I have it hooked onto a belt loop in my pants. So if I go down and I can do this, I can get help coming to me wherever I'm at, including maybe on the freeway. Maybe I'm on the toll road at night. Like, people might not even stop.
Yeah.
My bike might have gone off, and I'm laying on the roadside. So being able to always,
Wow.
like, what is that even?
Hopefully it's not tsunami warning.
Bro, we're like 100 feet up. And we're back. That was like I think it was them testing their tsunami warning. Anyway, I can always touch that button and get help coming to me. And then when I'm off grid, being able to text home that's spearfishing.
Sure.
There's no cell service, which is what I love about spearfishing.
Yeah.
Same with elk hunting. It's what I love about elk hunting, or just hunting in general. There's usually no service where we're at. But being able to tell my wife I'm safe and tell my emergency contact that I'm safe.
Well,
and just that simple check-in is
correct me
so
if I'm
nice.
wrong, but doesn't the Garmin InReach system come with a certain level of like rescue insurance or something?
Oh yeah, full rescue insurance, and I would say go online and look at that. But
it's like they'll come.
If it's legit, it's all covered.
They'll medevac you out, and it's wow.
It's people have been rescued in the Himalayas with it.
Wow.
Like it's crazy what it's capable of doing. I have mine now. When I get in the water, if I'm doing a shore dive, I have a little waterproof housing for my Garmin now, and it's in there. So if I get a bad riptide or something like that, I can turn that on, and as long as that antenna is out of the water and up, like, Coast Guard's on their way to me.
Yeah.
And I have friends that have been left out at sea in the ocean tuna hunting where the boat lost track of them.
Wow.
And don't ask me how. I don't know how, but for 2 hours, I have a friend that was floating in the middle of the ocean. And that's when I started carrying like a flare gun with me, signaling mirror, and that Garmin, and I keep it on the float in this little pouch with me. So the thing, it literally goes everywhere with me. I charge it like I charge my cell phone. I just always have it on. And on the motorcycle, no matter where I'm going, you'll see it clipped to my keys, or you'll see it clipped to my jacket.
Yeah.
This jacket doesn't have a clip on it. I feel like I should maybe like makeshift something, because I do like having it up and on my body.
Yeah.
But it's a big safety net for me. I wish I had it years ago. I realized I didn't really make it years ago.
Yeah.
But
well, man, I wish I would have had it a couple months ago.
yeah. Oh, you had a situation. Okay. That was when I think I looked at you. I'm like, I told you.
Yeah, he
you
did.
should get one
He
of them.
did.
Yeah.
So you've been talking about this thing for a few months now, and I was out on a solo motorcycle camping trip. So literally nobody else went with me. I was out in the middle of nowhere. Literally same thing, no cell phone signal, all of that stuff. Well, unfortunately, I went down on my motorcycle, and it wasn't at slow speeds. It was serious enough to where my bike wasn't riding out of there. And the first thing, as I'm laying on the side of the road beside my bike, I take my cell phone, off of the motorcycle. I look at it, seeing, all right, I got to call some people, figure stuff out. No cell phone signal. And it was one of those moments where I was like, what do I do now? And honestly, like, it was before I had checked to see, what the extent of my injuries were. And I had this moment of panic of like, what if my leg's broken and I can't walk out of here? You know, what now, sort of thing. Now, I think for most cell phones, you can still dial 911 even without cell phone signal, but you know, you're certainly not going to be able to text your wife or tow trucks or anything like that. So that incident, I literally had to walk a quarter mile to get enough cell phone signal to call out and signal to people that like, hey, we needed to call a tow truck and do all of that stuff. So in that exact moment, I was like, dang it, Luke might have been right on that. Time to get the Garmin.
Yeah, it's a big safety net. It's nice to have. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, and it's something I think everybody should have just for daily life.
Yeah.
And learn how to use it. Know how to use it. You can set up tracking on it. Like, guaranteed, my daughter will have a Garmin inReach. Guaranteed, when she is old enough, she's gonna have one of those on her, and I'm gonna know where she's at.
Nice.
So, what is your number one, sir?
So my number one, and this sounds kind of lame because it's not a motorcycle part necessarily, but it's something that I probably neglected for the first few years of riding, is intentional hydration when I'm on the motorcycle.
Oh.
So some of the most...
You mean not the Wubba?
No, I mean the Wubba's good. The Wubba's good, and I have my Yeti here that has ice water in it. But you realize when you're out on a motorcycle, you're in direct sunlight. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much water you need to take in just from literally riding around. It doesn't matter if you're sweating or not. When you become dehydrated on a motorcycle going 55, 65 miles an hour down the road, that's not a good thing to feel lightheaded and not have your senses about you. And so some of the most unsafe environments that I've felt on a motorcycle is when I'm mentally and physically exhausted from dehydration.
Wow.
And so something that I'm very, very intentional about these days is I stay hydrated in the morning. I'll start hydration the night before if I know I'm going to go on a big ride. Make sure that I'm constantly intaking electrolytes along the way.
Yeah.
Sure, you're going to have to go pee a little bit more on the bike, but I feel like it's going to make you more safe. And it honestly helps me to ride more miles. So, you know, if I'm not hydrating, I might cap out at 500 or 600 miles in a day. If I'm really up on my hydration, you can start to push another like 700, 800, 900 miles and not feel super taxed. So I know that's a little bit of a different thing, but for me, it's one of probably the most important thing when I'm riding.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I never thought of. I've talked to you about my water solution, and for that off-road trip I took, my birthday trip with all the guys, and I couldn't believe how much water I went through that day. And that's where I was like, I need to find a hydration system for this motorcycle for carrying more water on me, which is a whole nother video. But and still not figured out yet. So I don't have a video for it because I haven't figured it out yet. But I couldn't believe how much water I drank that day on the trail. It was like, for the whole day of off-roading, every second I got, I was just taking in water. And you know, having I see the benefit of a CamelBak for sure. And I don't know if it's something I would want to wear off-roading, especially going slower, especially if it's hot out. But it's like, that's when I need to wear it the most. Probably,
for sure.
You know,
for sure.
Is that, do you ever wear a CamelBak, or is it just something you're keeping up with on your stops and such?
Exactly, yeah. Every stop that I take, I'm doing ice water and something. And honestly, I have one of these insulated, you know, Yeti mug things to where you can hear there's ice in there. We filled up ice, you know, yesterday, almost 24 hours ago, filled the whole thing up with ice to where you can just top it off with room temperature water. And it's, for me, a lot easier to drink more water when it's ice cold than having to drink, you know, room temperature water.
I'm the same way.
So it's just one of those luxuries, and, you know, it helps me, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, or tell me what your 5 things are, leave them down in the comments below. And thanks, Josh. Thanks for coming out, man.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get this camp packed up and ride down to the beach.
Yep.
So, see you guys next time. Boom!